My mom, needless to say, was concerned over this exchange. This is a smart girl, and she doesn't know that her mom and family members are Black. She doesn't know that the newly elected. Welcome to Diversity Dish, where we're dishing on everything diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice related. My name is Sedruola Maruska, and we're bridging the gap between what needs to be said and what needs to be heard. Those individual experiences that are often ignored or simply dismissed. Sometimes I'm dining alone, sometimes I'm dining with friends, and sometimes I'm dining a la carte. No matter how I'm dining, it promises to be delicious. Let's dig in. It was the afternoon of November 9th, 2016, and I was picking up my kids from my mom's house after a long day at work. They were ready to go home. I was ready to be home. But I stopped in to say hello to my parents and thank them for their help. When I went to greet my mother, we went through the regular niceties. Then she told me about a conversation she had with my daughter. Now, my mom is extremely proud of my baby girl. She recognizes her genius and always tells me stories from the home front. This time was different. The TV was on, and of course, the news was streaming that a new person had been elected president. My children were familiar with the emotional about what was happening. Now, before you shut down or leave because you think you know where this is going, give me a moment. It's not going where you may think. My mom said that she asked my daughter if she knew what was happening. My daughter answered yes. Grandma, do you know we have a new president? Granddaughter, yes. Grandma, do you know who it is? Granddaughter, yes, Donald Trump. Grandma, what do you think about that? Granddaughter, I don't like him. Grandma, why not? Granddaughter, he's not nice. He says mean things. He's Black. Grandma, oh, you don't like Black? Granddaughter, no. Grandma, you know that your mom is Black. I'm Black and Papa is Black. Granddaughter, no, you're not. You're like me. My mom, needless to say, was concerned over this exchange. This is a smart girl, and she doesn't know that her mom and family members are Black. She doesn't know that the newly elected president is not Black. Say it ain't so. Ugh. After getting that information on what had already been a trying day, I didn't have the presence of mind to give a good response to my mom. I also didn't have the thoughts or words to bring this forth with my daughter. But it was there, in the background, like a song that you really wish you'd never heard, nagging at me. Forward a few weeks, and my daughter and I are in the bathroom, styling her hair for school. This was my chance. I was going to explain to my 5-year-old that we are Black and that she should know this for future reference. She needed to know this information because so many people that made up her genetic code were Black. It was my job as her mother and as a Black woman to make sure she knew she was Black. So I went in. Mom, baby, you know that mommy is Black? Daughter, really? Mom, yes, and Grandma and Papa too. Daughter, am I Black? Mom, yes, you're my daughter, so you're Black. Pause. Daughter, Mommy, what is Black? At that moment, I had no answers. At that moment, I realized there was something bigger here. At that moment, I realized that my daughter was right in her understanding and programming of what black is about Donald Trump. He is black. In her mind, black wasn't about race, it was about character. In her 5-year-old mind, she doesn't look at or shy away from or love people because of race, but because of character. So when my mom had that conversation with her, they were speaking two different languages. Hi, I bet you're wondering how you can work with me. Well, wonder no more. Just go to diversitydish.com and get all the information right there at your fingertips. Whether you need an equity and inclusion consultant, speaker, or a coach to help you discover your social justice sweet spot, I'm here to serve. diversitydish.com. I look forward to meeting you. When I had my conversation with her, we were speaking two different languages. Somehow, in her 5 years, the subliminal societal messages had gotten through that black equals bad. It would be up to her and those of us who love her to then counter those messages with black is beautiful. But here's my question. What is black? When did we decide we were black? Did we decide we were black, or was the label thrust upon us? Was the label black placed on us because the world had already started using black for bad things? And since our brown skin was closer to black, we were different, equal bad. We were called black. It's one of those random questions that comes up when talking to a 5-year-old and not having the faintest idea of what the answer is. There are a few things that I did learn with this conversation. Number one, the messages that are getting through are not favorable toward black. Number two, we spend a lot of our black lives countering the messages that get through early on. The conversation with my daughter and son is beginning. Am I ready? Am I ready to not explain the black race, but to work on fostering the black pride, the black strength that I've learned to embrace over the years? If I'm not, I'll make myself ready because my 5-year-old thinks a person of flawed character is black. When it's time to reconcile in her mind that she's black, I'm hoping her 5-year-old ideas of black will have been completely overshadowed by the truth. That was an article I wrote when my daughter was 5. That was 4 years ago. My daughter is now 9. She actively identifies as a black girl. And I have subsequently learned that yes, black was thrust upon us. It was a race thing that was thrust upon us. There used to be no distinguishing factors with regard to race. And then someone decided that they wanted to enslave people. And so they needed to create a hierarchy in order to feel better about doing something so horrible. So they created races, and they created a way to say that people who are darker are bad, they're wrong, they're barbaric, they're primitive. And people who are white, they are cultured, they are sophisticated, they are advanced. Now, I could get into whole arguments and conversations about how there were so many things going on in the native Black African countries that were not happening in the white European countries, that were far advanced than the white European countries. But I'm not going to get into all of that right now. All I want to say is this. The messages that are being sent are the messages that we are actively countering every single day. So, what messages are you giving to your children about Black and white? Are you afraid to say the word Black? Are you afraid to call people Black? Because it's not a bad word. I often find that I cringe more when people force or find or search for African American rather than to just say Black. Because in their minds, African American is more politically correct, which may be true for some. But honestly, Black is clearer. I just yesterday wrote an Instagram post about how I am a Black woman and not a woman of color. And the distinction needs to be made because the needs of Black women are often put behind all other women, including those who are considered women of color. And it's time that we bring forth our needs. It's time that we are protected, that we are empathized with, that we are allowed to be fully human with all of our anger and all of our joy and all of our sadness and all of our hurt, as well as all of our blessings. It's time that the world looks at us as fully human and not just part of some marginalized group, some BIPOC, some diversity initiative, but that they look at us and that they can see that our plight as Black women is different than others, and we need to be addressed in that way. Hey, did you enjoy that episode? If so, please leave a review. It would mean the world, but only if it's a good one and you really did enjoy it. In which case, it would be awesome if you help support my work over at patreon.com/Sedruola Maruska. And finally, before you go, don't forget diversitydish.com. I'd love to work with you. See you soon.